So the great polarities are the manifested and the unmanifested. Within the banishing pentagram, we go from the manifested and its relationship with the unmanifested. The banishing pentagram starts and sends away from physicality back to the unmanifested and the multi-layered universe in between. It's really more of a giant knotwork because you're sending it away, but it can bounce all over. I mean, if you really take this pentagram and flip it and open it up, it leads to it's huge. This is a compressed, small, symbolic version of the universe, of the entire universe. So you tossing a spirit away from you, okay, can land them anywhere, all right? You don't particularly care where they go. Now, interesting that if you could banish a spirit and you understood the map that this actually talks about, where you might be able to banish things to. Interesting. That's very high-level stuff and stuff I probably won't. I don't know. Well, we'll forget that now. But you simply, it's like throwing a tissue to the wind. The wind takes wherever. The spirit will get banished wherever the astral winds are flowing at the current time. So, away from you primarily, but wherever the astral current takes it is wherever the astral current takes it. The same works if you were going to invoke, you would draw down towards the physical. So I am taking a part of divinity. I am taking some part of this giant scheme and I am bringing it to me. I am bringing a chosen, selected aspect of the all possibility, right? And I am working it down, taking it through all these dimensional ideas, worlds of thought, giving it weight at each station. A little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. Finally, it just pretty much falls into my lap because now it's heavy. All these concepts, these thoughts that exist truly not only just within our own minds, but in the universal mind by which we were all thought forms of at one point, now becomes real and falls into manifestation. So, just because it's a thought doesn't mean the thought doesn't become action. And doesn't mean that in between thought and action don't exist a whole multitude of interplays of thoughts, checks, and balances that mediate all possibility into singular possibility. So I am taking this. When I am invoking, I am taking a portion, running it through this grand scheme, and crystallizing it into my own physical being, and then I am becoming that aspect of divinity. Now, because I am divine and you are also divine, you have it in you to understand your nature of unmanifest and manifest, and you can manifest all that is potential within you. Do you get what this means? God within the circle, all right? You are a miniature deity inside your own microcosmic universe. And therefore, you can reflect and draw into your own nature divinity and find your own corresponding divinity within you. So if that's true, the reverse is true. If a spirit comes to you and bothers you, an astral nasty, or a other dimensional entity, because you and it are reflected in the nature of each other, because you two are connected to this greater overmind, you both have reflections of one another within you. What does that mean? That means, by this strange paradox, because if I am you and you are me, I can invoke you within me, but I can also banish that part of you that reflects with my nature away from me. I can say I don't like that. I can stop being. In the physical world, it works like this. I can look at a family member and say, wow, well, I am connected to them. Or, not even a family member. I can find someone random and I can say, okay, we share similarities. We're both male. We're both really good looking. We're both, in the same city. I can find all these parallels about us that make us similar and give us the appearance of unity. But there may be parts of his personality or who that individual is that I say, wow, I don't want anything to do with that individual. So instead of invoking that person, I am banishing aspects or even the entire personality of that individual away from my matrix. I am saying I do not wish to reflect you in these particular aspects. So taking that from a microcosmic level and moving it towards a more magical level, she is saying, I do not like your meaty goodness, and I am banishing you away from me. The spirit and intelligence of who you are that exists outside your physical nature, I am now using my connection from the manifest to the unmanifested, and I am banishing you away from me. I will not allow your intelligence to inhabit my sphere of personal influence. I wish you to leave. I demand it so. And so I am enacting a magical formula of manifested to unmanifest, and I am throwing you to the astral winds. Now, because this individual is anchored, so it's like a boat. A spirit is a boat on the astral sea without an anchor. However, this physical representation, this body, is anchored to the physical world. So even though you banish them away from you, does not mean that they are lost, does not mean that they don't have the navigational skills to find their way back. And that's the difference. Banishing will still work, but you have to understand, when you're dealing with an entity with a physical body who has all the domains and principalities that you do, the fight now is much more equal. You're on a more equal ground with them. And so if they met you in the physical world and they're stronger than you, they're faster than you, they're more skilled than you in the physical sciences of movement, of time, of space, all those things that would go into the confinements of the physical world, but also at the same time, the forces that if you work against will make you stronger, both physically and magically. If you met them in the physical world, they could now potentially exert a great deal of force over you physically or emotionally or intellectually, like some other person can. So this is the difference. This is why banishings work and how they work. But when dealing with another entity in a physical body, or that is anchored to the physical body, it's not going to be as effective as dealing with something that has no physical anchor. Yes? Does that make sense? Okay? So, banishing. If you have the physical body, you carry the weight. You can swing the power to knock. It's like a baseball coming in at you and you have the baseball bat just to knock it out of the fucking park. All right? That ball has no anchor anywhere. However, if it's a physical entity leaving their physical body to bother you, then it's like you're hitting a tetherball. Okay? They have an anchor. They can come back. Your real fight there with a actual physical magician is quite different than dealing with spirits. If you are doing the middle pillar ritual, all right, you have that North Star. Right here is the North Star. They often call this the Pole Star School. The mystery of the Pole Star. The mystery of the Sky Pillar. Okay? Because navigationally speaking, the more you know about who you are as a person, the tougher and tougher it is to get lost in this giant, crazy, like just chaotic world of the astral realm that has its own eddies and tides and undercurrents. There are stormy places and peaceful places. This is a crazy fucking chaotic world of law, order, chaos, conflict, all coalescing and vying for control. All right? But if you are on this astral ocean and you are performing the middle pillar ritual, you can navigate this crazy fucked up sea. All right? You can navigate this world as long as you, or well, let's say you can better navigate this world as long as you know who you are. This forever will be your source of who you are. You were born from Prime Creator. Prime Creator is that North Star in the astral space. You can find your way back to who you are because you are linked. Because you are a manifested product of Prime Creator. But yet, so is this. And yet, so are reptilian entities. And yet, are so many other entities that are manifested that may come from different dimensions. They too are able to find their way back if they are conscious of who they are. In terms of mind control, in terms of the daily conditioning that we are under, because there is physical forms of mind control, and then there are non-physical forms of mind control. So, throwing someone in the back of a van, taking them to some unmarked, unspecified location, beating them, torturing them, sexually humiliating them to the point where they must leave their physical body to get away and survive. Their mind will fracture. And because there must be a vessel for you to inhabit, there must be a vessel for you to inhabit. I'll say that again. There must be a vessel for you to inhabit. The astral world will quickly create one out of its abundant, never-ending clay. And so that new personality can look back and watch this physical body being tortured and be relatively safe. All right? So that's what they do in these MK Ultra programs, is they force a astral entity to be created to house your new personality. And subconsciously, you know that the longer you can exist inside this brand new personality, you will be safe from the torment of your own physical body. Now, the handlers know this. They won't harm the brand new personality because they want the new personality to stick around. They will harm the old personality in specific patternings. So when the physical body, when they begin the tortures, the physical body cues that out-of-body process to happen, which brings about the new personality. And the new personality will stick around as long as it can to prevent the torture of its physical body. So all those starlets that have strange new accents and do weird fucking things, they are reflecting the nature of their conditioning. So the handlers will watch for when the old personality, when the original personality emerges, and they will show them symbolic representations or begin the horrible physical trauma that caused them to leave their bodies in the first place, and for their intelligence, their consciousness, to quickly find or develop an astral entity, an astral vehicle, or to find their own astral vehicle and make whatever story they need to make to bind them together. This is a horrible process. Horrible process. And we're talking about the most vile of black magic occurs in this process. That is both physical and non-physical. This is the deep astral component. Most of the time in the horrors that are occurring, they will guide the individual going through this process and have them create the personality or the world they want. Because the world that they currently inhabit is absolute hell and absolute shit. And where do they want to be? They want to be somewhere else. They want to be somewhere glamorous. They want to be in some fairy tale world anywhere than where they are currently. That initiates the birth or the reshaping of their astral vessel. So because they know that this idea, these concepts are born out of fear and coercion, and they're going to be half-baked and not really well established, going to be highly fanciful, very childlike, that's what they want. They want a highly fanciful, childlike personality to emerge as now a secondary personality who is going to last and stick around as long as it can to save the principal physical body and parent personality. That's the point. In a non-individual brainwashing, which we are currently under all the time, the entire world is under this form of conditioning, they saturate areas. Now, in one of my videos, when I went to go meet with two attractive representatives and was offered the chance into being fast-tracked into a particular secret society, they told me about technology that they have existed that is both physical and non-physical, that they can beam vibrations into specific areas and flood them and maintain and consistently maintain these vibrations for years to slowly change the consciousness of the people who live there, to throw them into chaos, to throw them into bizarre delusional thinkings, to change their entire culture, because culture is being ripped out. The roots of our society and our foundations, our histories are being erased. So too are individual histories being erased. We no longer can easily find our North Star anymore. And so we are lost. We are being banished. This is how this works against us. We are being banished into a non-physical consciousness And underneath us is being built a brand new foundation for us to manifest, for us to live into. And that is the New World Order. They will banish human consciousness and create so much fear and confusion that right out from under us, they are pulling the old world. And because we must eventually touch down into a new world, they are building that new world right now. That has been the long-standing plan. This is the astral application of that plan. And I can talk for hours and get deeper and deeper and deeper into it. But this is just a primer for that. So this is also how banishing can work against us. But for a banishing to occur of a physical individual, kind of like I was joking about in the first video, you need hard, physical, blunt trauma, something to get them outside of their consciousness. You could beat them unconscious. You could hypnotize them if they are open and willing. However, that's hard to do. You can forcefully brainwash, which also requires, brutal torture, threats, fear, all sorts of coercion. You've got to force them out of their physical body. Once they are forced out of their physical body, you can banish them and scatter them wherever you want. Or, kind of like I was talking about before, if you understand deeper the occultic science, you can banish them to specific locations contained within the grandeur of the universe. I'm going to let that soak in. There's a great deal more to this, and if and when people are ready, we'll get into it. But this is just another small layering of how the interplay of manifest and unmanifest work, why those two polarities are absolute key. Anyone who tells you that the physical body is wrong is a fucking idiot. All right? Any spirituality telling you to get outside of your physical body, to go to the higher dimensions and leave as quickly as possible is part of that mind control paradox, paradigm. Okay, paradox and paradigm. I didn't stutter that time. Because they want to get you away, to lose you, so you don't have benefit of knowing who you are. And you can't find that North Star as easy. And when you finally do, and your consciousness returns, you are in a brand new reality. Okay? It's like Vikings coming back to find that their lands have been Christianized. All right? The crazy, scary, horrid nature of what that would, entail. Their children basically slaves to the church, and their women married off to Christian men. So, the women are going to be highly unhappy. But it's very much the same. Very much the same. If they can scatter your consciousness out of fear, horror, desperate needs, whatever they need to do to get you out of your physical body into a realm of unmanifest, only to manifest a world when you get back, a new world, and change your perceptions and consciousness, that's what they're going to do. Absolutely what they are going to do. Really quick, let's talk about higher level and lower level. Okay? Frequency and vibration. That's it. A higher level entity just has lighter vibrations than a lower level entity. So we have high level, low level. Okay? Just because you have a more refined nature about yourself doesn't mean. So vibration is not an indication of character. Okay? Vibration, not indication of character. Repeat that to yourself like 1,000 fucking times. Vibration, not indication of character. Vibration, not indication of character. Vibration is not indication of character. All right? It doesn't mean anything. There are high-level entities that are as sick and foul as they come. All right? Their aims are just a little bit different. They see grander, overarching schemes. They see the mechanisms of the universe as things to be subtly drawn from. They know they can touch certain areas. They know they can influence and intercede in small ways that over time brings about gigantic, colossal changes. But they do it for evil purposes. They do it for purposes that are not within your best interest. There are also highly low-level beings very close to you, very close to your physical realm, that truly supersede all illusions we have of what saintdom really is. They are loving. They are amazingly beneficial entities who just happen to be a little bit more on the lower vibrational scale. Doesn't mean they're less powerful, okay? Power is not dictated by frequency either, all right? So that is no longer an indication, okay? Just like now, you think, oh, well, this is low level, this is high level, but yet you can banish all this shit because of the weight, of the strength of the physical world. So don't think for a second that these lower vibrational entities have any less strength and are sometimes perhaps even more powerful in their ability to affect the physical world. Neither does that say anything of their moral character. People are always talking about, oh, well, you need to beware of the lower astral entities. You need to be aware of every fucking entity. God damn it. Just these pseudo-occultists piss me the fuck off. Okay? Higher, lower does not morality make. Morality is morality. Alright? The vibrations surrounding it are not indications of the morality's type. Higher, lower vibration. Oh, it's a higher level thought. Oh my God, I'm so self-righteous. It's higher level. Fuck you. It is not. Alright? Your higher level delusions are not helpful to humanity. Alright? Someone who works in the earth, sweats, toils, spends time on the ground, gets dirty, actually works for humanity, all right? But so too are the great CEOs of this giant collaboration of energy, overseeing massive projects, overseeing great work efforts, and calling from high towers because they can see things. They have a different understanding of the universe, who still work for the grand betterment of humanity. So don't play anyone who talks about higher level beings, low level beings, and doesn't understand that that is not indication of character is a pseudo-occultist or a very low level occultist and should not be taken seriously past what their station or what their level is. If they don't know or can't tell you that morality is not found within higher and lower, then to me they're kind of like kindergarten, all right? Because this is because this heaven and versus hell bullshit is kindergarten spirituality, okay? The most base, lowest of the low. And see, I'm kind of doing that right there. I'm saying lowest of low as indicator, but within our own human speak. The most base level, as in nothing grown, either up or down. So we're talking midpoint with no structure. All right? Understand where they are in the terms of true understanding of occultism. All right? So I think I've given you a ton. Absorb it. Try to make that work for you. Understand, because you have a physical body, you have a great deal of dominion and power, that your actions create reality. Nothing is real until you build it. Nothing is real until something becomes manifested on the physical plane. Meditate on that. Understand your nature. Understand the power of what that is, and how you banishing and calling things is truly God within the circle, and you will be leaps and bounds ahead in your understanding of occultic science and occultic vibrational directives than the large majority of others.